Jaya Radha Gopijana Ballabha Girivadadari Gopijana Ballabha Girivadadari Sodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Sodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Binda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai ISKCON's founder, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantara Sri Caitanya Caritamrita ki, Jai Shri Shri Gaura Nitai, Jai Shri Shri Radha Govardhana, Krishna Balaram Giri, Govardhana ki, Vrinda Devi, Tulsi Devi Maharani. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. So good morning to everybody. Welcome to the Sri Caitanya Caritamrita classes, which we hold every weekend, somehow or other by Krishna's grace. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vindam. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vindam. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vindam. Okay, I'm trying to work out what's going on here. So I'm meant to read from 45 to 51. Anyway, that's to bring it all up to date. There's a couple of very short purports. I think 49's on the board, is that correct? So I'll read up to 49. We'll chant 49. Just sort of, there's no purport to 49, but anyway, we'll do that, and then we'll try and say something. So yesterday we heard all about Srila Jiva Goswami. So this is the very beginning of the Madhya Leela, which is the centre of the Caitanya Caritamrita. It's in 3 parts. So now Gauranga Mahaprabhu is just taking sannyas and he's heading to Jagannath Puri, and Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is now giving a bit of synopsis, a bit of an overview of what's coming up. So this is what we're up to. So verse 45, I'll just read this one Bengali and then I'll read the rest in English. E mata nana granta kaliyar prakash Goshti Saiti Kaila Vrindavanivas. So translation, thus Srila Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami and their nephew Srila Jiva Goswami, as well as practically all their family members, lived in Vrindavan and published important books on devotional service. So these devotees have just been introduced because they weren't in the first part of the Navadvip pastimes. So now Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is introducing these extraordinary devotees, and you'll hear more about them in the Madhya Leela. Text number 46. The first year after Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the renounced order of life, all the devotees headed by Sri Advaita Prabhu went to see the Lord at Jagannath Puri. 47. After attending the Rath Yatra ceremony at Jagannath Puri, all the devotees remained there for 4 months, greatly enjoying the company of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu by performing Kirtan, chanting and dancing. Text 48. At the time of departure, the Lord requested all the devotees, quote, "Please come here every year to see the Rath Yatra festival of Lord Jagannatha's journey to the Gundicha temple." Short purport, there is a temple named Gundicha at Sundarachala. Lord Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra are pushed in their 3 carts from the temple in Puri to the Gudicha temple in Sundarachala. In Orissa, this Rath Yatra festival is known as Jagannath's journey to Gudicha, whereas others speak of it as the Rath Yatra festival. The residents of Orissa refer to it as Gudicha Yatra. And now we'll chant 49, so we will get to chant. Prabhu Agaya Bhakta Ganapata Ba'asiya Gudicha Dekiya Yana Prabhu Miliya Prabhu Agaya Bhakta Ganapata Ba'asiya Gudicha Dekiya Yana Prabhu Miliya Prabhu Agaya Bhakta Gana Patyabda Asiya Gudicha Dekiya Yana Prabhu Miliya. Take a couple, chant it. Prabhu Agaya Bhakta Gana Patyabda Asiya Gudicha Dekiya Yana Prabhu Miliya. One of the mothers, Vaishnavis. Prabhu Agaya Bhakta Gana Patyabda Asiya Gudicha Dekiya Yana Prabhu Miliya. Prabhu Agaya. Upon the order of Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Bhaktagana, all the devotees, Patyabda, Translation, following the order of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Thank you. All the devotees used to visit Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu every year. They would see the Gudicha festival at Jagannath Puri and then return home after 4 months. Text number 50. For 20 consecutive years, this meeting took place, and the situation became so intense that the Lord and the devotees could not be happy without meeting one another. Text 51. The last 12 years were simply devoted to relishing the pastimes of Krishna in separation within the heart of the Lord. So that's Antya Leela, which comes, like I said last time, it took us 7 years to do the Adi Leela. The Madhya Leela is about 2.5 times the size, so 10, 12. So this verse, it's been, maybe in 20 years you might get to hear about it. So I suggest that you all read ahead perhaps. Purport. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu enjoyed the position of the gopis in separation from Krishna. When Krishna left the gopis and went to Mathura, the gopis cried for him the rest of their lives, feeling intense separation from him. This ecstatic feeling of separation was practically advocated by Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu through his actual demonstrations. So there's a bit of a few verses. Jai Om Ganati Madanasa Ganam Ganasalaka Sakshus Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishnam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayamupam Kadamayam Darati Swaparantikam Panchakapatur Vishakri Pasandu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanivyo Vaishnavivyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So there's a few subject matters to discuss. But first, we always have to thank Srila Prabhupada for bringing the message to Govardhana, because Lord Caitanya is a hidden incarnation, not very well known, even in India, especially in western parts of India. They don't know who Lord Caitanya is. What to speak of Lord Nityananda? It's a mystery, transcendental mystery that Srila Prabhupada has just given us on a big plate. We're so fortunate. Lord Caitanya follows Krishna once in a day of Brahma, so it's very rare, which is every 8.6 billion years. It's a long time, isn't it? So we're very fortunate. Once every 1,000 cycles this happens. So does everybody know who Lord Caitanya is? Can someone tell me who Lord Caitanya is? She said, Lord Caitanya is an incarnation of Lord Krishna. We all agree with that? You say yes. Any no's? Another no there. Any other no's? Got a few? I think the no's outdo the yeses. Sorry, you've been outvoted. Yes, it appears like incarnation, but generally every Kali Yuga there is an incarnation that comes to this particular rare Kali Yuga. Krishna himself comes directly. See? But he doesn't look like Krishna, does he? Where's his flute? Is he hiding it? He doesn't look blue, does he? What's going on? So that's why it's called Chana incarnation, hidden. And if our acharyas and the scriptures wouldn't tell us, we wouldn't know. He just looked like some mad sannyasi running around chanting and acting like a crazy man, which he did for very important reasons. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is actually avatari. He's Krishna directly, and it's explained in the Adi Leela. I don't know if we have time to do all this, because Krishnadas Kaviraj says at one point, it's not possible to in one day, Lord Chaitanya's pastimes in one day, it's not possible to recite in a lifetime. So anyway, this is the reason I'm quickly going back to this is to give some reference for everybody here, because I don't know who's read Caitanya Caritamrita and who hasn't. But this talks about Krishna himself, just after he came 5,000 years ago, winding up his pastimes and contemplating. On YouTube and the sound drops out. So I'm just quickly read a few verses. This gives you an idea of Krishna's meditation and thought before coming himself in the guise of a devotee, which is quite extraordinary. God himself comes as a devotee of God. It's quite a very interesting concept, very esoteric. So this is the Adi Leela, and these are very, very important. If you haven't read Caitanya Caritamrita, try and read just these first 3 or 4 verses, because they tell you exactly who Lord Caitanya is, why he came here. It gives you the foundational understanding. So then when you hear further pastimes, you're sort of tuned into what's going on. So this is Krishna. Absorbed in such transcendental love, Lord Sri Krishna enjoys in Vraj with his devoted servants, friends, parents and conjugal lovers. Lord Krishna enjoys his transcendental pastimes as long as he wishes, and then it disappears. After disappearing, however, he thinks thus. This is an incredible insight. For a long time I have not bestowed unalloyed loving service to me upon the inhabitants of the world. Without such loving attachment, the existence of the material world is useless. Everywhere in the world, people worship me according to scriptural injunction, but simply by following such regulative principles, one cannot attain the loving sentiments of the devotees of Raj Bhumi. Knowing my opulence, the whole world looks upon me with awe and veneration, but devotion made feeble by such reverence does not attract me. I won't read any more. So this is what the Lord's thinking before coming here. So Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami gives 3 external reasons, who knows what they are, why the Lord appears himself. Pardon? Yes. So one of the reasons is Sri Advaita Acharya, who's also he's an incarnation, by the way, of Mahavishnu. So he was calling out loudly, offering tulsi and water to the Lord, because the people of that particular time were so fallen, so degraded, that he thought only Krishna himself can save them. So he was calling out so loudly that the Lord in Vaikuntha could hear him, and he came. Another reason? Yes, it was a scheduled time for the Yuga Avatar to come and propagate the process, the ideal and recommended process for spiritual perfection for this particular age, which is the spreading of the Harinam, transcendental Sankirtan, congregational chanting. So before the earlier processes are too difficult. So in this age, this is what you do to reach the same perfection you would reach any other time by meditating for 60,000 years or whatever. So the Lord was due for that incarnation. So Krishna slipped into that role as well. Normally it's a Sakyavesh avatar that comes and does it. Interesting. And when I've mentioned this before, but it's good to have repetition. The Sakyavesh avatar that comes, the same process as their Harinam Sankirtan, but it's done in awe and reverberation. And the people in the 999 previous yugas, they attained Vaikuntha. In this particular incarnation, Krishna is coming himself, and he's thinking, it's been a long time since I've given this different type of prem, which is Braja prem, which is the love and sentiment that devotees in Vrindavan have in his hometown, his personal family and friends. So it's very, very rare and very, very unique. So Lord Chaitanya is coming to distribute that particular prem. So those 3 reasons, Advaita Acharya's loud calling, it's time to reintroduce the process for this age officially, and he wants personally to give. Now this is very important to understand, is he's giving, we're not acquiring, we're not capable of receiving. It's beyond, way beyond our spiritual capacity to attain Braj Prem, which is the loving sentiment of the highest devotees in the spiritual world. So Lord Chaitanya is coming to give. So we're being given. Everything's being given. Lord Srila Prabhupada gave us everything. We came empty-handed. So this is important to remember. And from these meditations, we have to try and develop some form of humility, because we are little, insignificant living entities, but we have a unique relationship with Krishna that makes us special. So we're special and insignificant at the same time. It's an interesting concept. Insignificant and unique. So anyway, I wanted to just revive that so we all remember this, those 3 reasons. It's Krishna directly. No, but it doesn't look like Krishna. Krishna Vanam Tushna Krishna Sango. We know that famous verse, Sango Pragastas. How's it go? Sango Prashadam. Yagne Sangatan Praye Yajanti Ishmadasa. This is in the 11th canto. The Bhagavatam confirms this hidden is Krishna himself, but he's not blackish. He comes golden, he comes with his associates, and he establishes this process. And intelligent people in this age will worship this particular personality, Lord Chaitanya. He describes an incarnation, but he's actually directly Krishna, the source of all incarnations. This is interesting. So he doesn't look like it because he's coming in the form of a devotee. It's like sometimes even in history, kings will dress up as commoners and go into the people to see what it's like to be a commoner. sometimes that, but he's still the king. He remains the king. So Lord Caitanya is now, there's internal reasons given also, but we won't get into those too much. But he particularly also had internal reasons. He wanted to feel the love of his greatest devotee, Srimati Radharani, because he could see her love was so extraordinary. He said, what is it? So Krishna himself wants to experience the love of his devotee, which is extraordinary. We all, in the material world, most people want to become God, but God wants to become a devotee. So that's the unique characteristics of Lord Caitanya. So he came in this very wonderful, beautiful form and performed these pastimes to attract the devotees, to exhibit the process himself in a very item level, but also internally he was undergoing quite very, very extraordinary spiritual emotions, which only Lord Caitanya and Radharani can feel. Nobody else does it. So we can't imitate, we can admire. And we need to understand, because as we read, like I mentioned this last time, as we read through, there's going to be extraordinary things that can only be understood if we understand what Lord Caitanya is undergoing himself, which has been given to us by our acharyas. It's very elevated, very lofty subject matter, and not easily understood, but somehow or other Srila Prabhupada's given us Caitanya Caritamrita. And he gave the teachings of Lord Caitanya very early, and he also, if you listen to his lectures, he was giving Sri Caitanya Caritamrita classes in 1966 at 26 2nd Avenue. He gave for over a month, I think it was like November and December 66. You can listen to him. He was speaking from this Madhya Lila, chapter 20. So it's been given to us, but it's recommended that you have to systematically read through, because you need to understand Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam somewhat to give you more context. At least Krishna book, because there's subject matters in the Caitanya Caritamrita that deal with the highest levels of prema, of bhakti, which, and if you don't have foundational knowledge that Prabhupada gives us, especially in the Krishna book and the Bhagavatam, Nectar Devotion, the Bhagavad Gita, we may find it a bit too much to understand. So anyway, so today we're hearing in this summary, every year Lord Caitanya would receive his devotees. They would all come from Navadvip. They were headed by Shivananda Sain. I'm going to have a quiz at the end of class. Shivananda Sain, remember that name? Okay, remember that? So he was a wonderful devotee. He used to organise all the devotees in Navadvip, and it's not an easy thing to do. Not just organise, finance the whole journey. It was at least a couple hundred devotees, I understand, would come, all his intimate friends and devotees, and they would travel by foot from Navadvip. And how long does it take? Anyone know how long it takes? Is it 2 months or 3 months? So you've walked it? I'm just asking. I remember I've been fortunate enough to go to Puri on a number of occasions, and you travel from Mayapur to Calcutta, and it was an 8-hour train, overnight train to Puri. So I can imagine it's a long walk. And along the way there'd be rivers to cross, boats to hire, fees to pay, taxes when you cross boundaries of different regions. And Shivananda Sain would organise all that, all the accommodation, all the meals. It's a wonderful, wonderful servant of the Vaishnavas. So you'll get to hear about him more. But it's very important that we learn about these devotees. They're so important. And an integral part of Lord Caitanya, Krishna is not a one-man show. He's not a loner. He's Sri Krishna Chaitanya. He's Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita, Gadadhara, and Shivasari, Gaura and Bhaktivinoda. That means all the devotees. Altogether, those 5 features that we chant every day, they're the total Supreme Lord. That's Krishna and all his energies. There's Krishna himself, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda is his direct expansion, Lord Advaita is incarnation, Gadadhara is his internal potency, which manifests in the form of Srimati Radharani, and Srivas comes to represent all the jivas, Gaura Bhaktivinoda. So this is also a wonderful thing that's stored in Sri Caitanya Caritamrita, the full picture of the Supreme Lord. He comes with all his friends and devotees in different energies. It's so wonderful. And all the devotees that come with him, they're all his associates from Vrindavan. Interesting. They all come so the gopis come as men and so on and so forth. That's quite trees come as devotees, and like Madhavendra Puri, They all manifest in different forms, but they're all also his eternal devotees. So it's very esoteric and very extraordinary. So they used to come every year, and we're hearing now they used to engage in this Gundicha Marjana, cleansing of the Gundicha temple. So Lord Caitanya would engage all his devotees in Puri in this Rath Yatra festival. So this is prior to Rath Yatra. We do it here. We have the cleaning of Gundicha. Or any one here, you've all engaged in cleaning at that time? I'm sure most of you, some of you. So we celebrate the festival here. We clean everything very thoroughly. So Lord Caitanya organised, he approached the managers of this temple and said, we want to do the cleaning. They were very pleased and happy to serve this very effulgent, beautiful young sannyasi. So he requested many hundreds of buckets and brooms, and it's described hundreds of devotees came and they swept and cleansed and picked up all the dust, and it became like a festival. They were all in there. Lord Caitanya was on the throne of the Lord, using his cloth and cleaning. Devotees were carrying dust and straw and throwing it outside, and it went on. And Lord Caitanya was noticing how much each individual devotee was collecting, praising the ones with big piles and chastising the ones with little piles. You're not working hard enough. And then they went in again and they started getting the finer pieces of dust. Very beautiful. Imagine lots and lots of devotees. And then hundreds of devotees then started bringing buckets of water. And then they started throwing water right on the ceiling, all over the walls, everywhere. Made it perfectly clean, sparkling clean, and it's described the devotees' hearts also became the same from this activity. It was very, and there was no talking. The conversation, if you wanted to talk to somebody or request something, please pass me a broom, or pick up something. The language was what? Krishna, 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 Krishna. Hundreds of devotees. Krishna, Krishna, dust everywhere. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the centre of it all. What a beautiful scene. So this is what's been described here in this small section. Later on there's a whole big section fully describing it, which we'll probably reach in about 3.5 years, I guess. It's in chapter 14 of this section. And then what else was said? Yes, following this, they would clean the temple and they would remain for 4 months. What a wonderful... Imagine spending 4 months in Jagannath Puri with Lord Caitanya and all his devotees. They would engage in daily Kirtan and honouring Jagannath Prasadam. Isn't that very interesting? It's just very similar to what we do here, isn't it? If you analyse the devotees, what their prime actions are, and what Srila Prabhupada's given us is basically chanting, dancing, and taking prasadam. Is exactly what Lord Caitanya himself did in the guise of a devotee with all his devotees. So this is why, again, it's important to read the Caitanya Caritamrita, because it's the process for this age. It's been manifested directly by the Lord himself in the guise of a devotee. He shows you how to do all these things. So and the cultures there, the etiquette with devotees, even the recipes are given. There's so many preparations, which I think hopefully one day they'll be made into a cookbook. There's some extraordinary recipes in there, like a mind-boggling stuff. Especially Raghava Pandit, when he visits, he brings, what's that called, his famous bag of goodies? Raghava Jolly? Yes. Damayanti, was that his sister? Yeah, she was so expert. And they would bring it, all the devotees would bring gifts and things that would visit, but they would bring this bag of extraordinary condiments. Condiments meaning things that keep. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would eat them all year round, all these pickles, and full descriptions are given. So you'll get to hear about all that. So very intimate details are given about Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastime. So devotees will come every year like that. What time is flying? Okay. And then we got on to... So it says it's for 20 years these meetings took place. I don't know if it's exactly 20 years because Lord Caitanya was away for 6. Sometimes 18. Anyway, it's just a detail. And the situation became so intense that the Lord and the devotees could not be happy without meeting one another. So this is another characteristics of Krishna consciousness, this separation and union. And this is described in the purport here, and that Prabhupada says, Sri Krishna Chaitanya enjoyed the position of the gopis in separation from Krishna. When Krishna left, the gopis went to Mathura. The gopis cried for him for the rest of their lives. It's very intense, feeling intense separation from him. This ecstatic feeling of separation was specifically advocated by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through his actual demonstration. So this sort of subject matters, you really got to have a deep background in Bhagavad Gita, Nectar Devotion, Bhagavatam, Krishna book, hearing, chanting, associating, serving, to even get a glimpse of these topics, but nevertheless they're given to us. So like it says, as Krishna, Lord Chaitanya has external, internal reasons. We've just recently read his external reasons for taking sannyas, and there was some fellow students that were criticising him because he was in an eternal mood. He was chanting gopi, 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 and they thought, what's going on with this man? It's about Krishna, it's about the Vedanta Sutra, and they became very, very critical. And Lord Chaitanya became saddened because he came to deliver everybody, and they were becoming offenders, which was going to cause the opposite effect. So then he decided, this is one of the reasons given. Prabhupada gives another reason early on in the Adi Leela, that Lord Chaitanya came to deliver the Mayavadis, which are also the most fallen and demoniac impersonalists, the lowest of the impersonalists. So he came for those two reasons. But in Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Sri Navadvip Mahatmya, the internal reasons given, which you don't hear very often. Anybody know that? Very, very wonderful. When this particular book describes Lord Srila Jiva Goswami coming to Mayapur. This is just after Lord Chaitanya had left, so there's a lot of very deep emotion. But Lord Nityananda was still there, and they met, and Lord Nityananda personally took him on parikram to Mayapur. Can you imagine that? Took him to all the places of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. How wonderful that would be. And told it's like the devotees right now in Mayapur. I think that's what they're doing. Have they started parikram yet? They'd be just about to start. So there's many thousands of devotees are now gathered in Navadvip Mayapur, the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya, and they go in the thousands and they visit all the places, and you hear descriptions of where Lord Chaitanya, what he did there, what happened, who was there, and you become immersed in those transcendental pastimes. And you can then go to the actual places. So if you haven't been to Mayapur, you want to put this on your top of your bucket list, to go to Sridhar Mayapur and go on parikram. So wonderful. And the very senior devotees, they speak, they perform dramas. I've been there, they perform spontaneous dramas. These devotees have read these books so many times that they can just jump up and perform the pastime. They remember everything, and they get absorbed in the emotions and the characters. And very, very nice. So this is going on. So when Lord Nityananda was travelling around, they went to a place, Govardhana Dweep, I think it's called, my Bengali. This is one of the 9 islands of Navadvip. And there was a very big, beautiful banyan tree there. And actually that tree is unmanifested now, excuse me, but he tells a story, Lord Ramachandra and Sita and Lakshman going there where they were in exile. And then at that time there was a very beautiful tree, which is now unmanifested but still there. And they actually built a little hut under this tree, and they lived there for some time. And one day, Mother Sita was there threading some garlands, and she saw Lord Ram in that beautiful green grassy colour, admiring this beautiful effulgent place, Navadvip. And he had a grin on his face. And then she saw that, and she asked him, why are you grinning? And then he said, I know you know, but I'll tell you anyway for the benefit of all. He says, I'm going to come here in Kali Yuga as Gauranga Mahaprabhu in this golden form. I'm going to perform my pastimes. I'm going to appear in the womb of Mother Sachi in the house of Jagannath Mishra. I'm going to enjoy my Vidya Leela, my pastime as a scholar, which he did in annoying everybody and defeating everybody. And then I'm going to take sannyas. I'm going to leave my mother and my wife, Vishnupriya, embracing each other, crying their hearts out. Just like in this purport. Krishna left the gopis crying in intense separation. And then Mother Sita said, why would you do that? If you know you're going to take sannyas and do this, why would you do that? And then he revealed, he said, my devotees, they love being with me, especially my eternal devotees. That's called sambhoga, union, being together. Like devotees, everyone likes to be together, no one likes to be alone. So the devotees always like to be, but he says, when I favour my devotees especially, I create separation. And this creates intense feeling of, so the love increases, and then when they get together again, this is Lord Ramachandra where he's explaining. So then when we get together again, our love multiplies by 1,000,000 times. So he was explaining why he did this. So it seems, again, the reason I'm mentioning these internal reasons, when you read it, externally it seems very cruel to abandon your mother, because her husband already passed away, and your young wife. She was like 16 years old. He just more or less just got married, and leaving them behind, and all his friends. And so this is explained by Lord Ramachandra of all people, 2 million years ago. So this is revealed. So Lord Chaitanya did these things for the pleasure of his devotees. So, and Prabhupada mentions in the purple, that was the mood of Lord Chaitanya. He says here, the feeling of separation was specifically advocated by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through his actual demonstrations. And then again on top of that, he himself is in the mood of Radharani. He's feeling separation from Krishna. So you've got these double levels of intense separation. And the devotees himself, Mother Sachi, was feeling separation from Lord Chaitanya and Krishna. So it's quite esoteric. This is why this is called a postgraduate study of spiritual understanding. It's not that easy, and we can't jump ahead and imitate. Because there is people out there that think the internal reasons of Lord Chaitanya, which is that Govi Bhav is the most important and the externals aren't so important. We don't need to chant and follow rules and all that. Absolutely not. Both are very important. It's not that one's higher and one's lower. One's more hidden and internal because it's for the Lord's privacy in a sense. And the external ones are more evident and more important than for us. To follow this Sangatam process and follow the footsteps of our dear acharyas. So this has been given, and we're very, very fortunate that this merciful incarnation has come. He's intoxicated with the love of God. Now we think in a fallen state, intoxication means alcohol and drugs. No, but he's intoxicated in intense love of God, which we can't understand because only he can experience that. But the manifestation is there in his actions. He goes into trances. In Kirtan, he'll jump in the air and land like so hard that anyone who witnesses would think that every bone in his body be broken. He would go into swoons, and so this is the highest levels of ecstasy. But he's intoxicated, and normally when an example is given, when a king has a treasury and he's sober, he guards his treasury. You can't get to it. But when that king is intoxicated, he's had a few too many, sometimes you might leave the door open and people can come and help themselves. So this is Gauranga Mahaprabhu. He's opened the treasure house of love of God. He's left the door open and he's let us jump in there and grab because he's intoxicated. So he's left the door open and he's giving and we can all take. So the very unique manifestation of the Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we are extremely blessed beyond our imagination. Okay, there's a bunch of minutes left for reflections, corrections, comments, questions. Ajita Prabhu, you can chastise me as much as you want. You might have to put your nose in here, Prabhu. Turn the speaker our way. That's it.
You mentioned
No.
that it was a very interesting concept. What's interesting about Krishna is the way he designs things. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Thank you. And Jiva Goswami explains in the reasons why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, and he gives a little insight that everybody in Kali Yuga, because of our nature, we want to become God. We want to enjoy like God. So Jiva Goswami says that Krishna, instead of competing with the rest of the population in Kali Yuga to become God, then he reversed the situation. Like in judo, for example, where you pull the adversary towards you, so he becomes the servant, and then it throws the spanners in the works. Another thing he does also is that because in Kali Yuga everyone likes to party and have fun, and they like to go to nightclubs and things like that, rock music, whatever. So he introduces the Sankirtan through music, and they go and dance through music. And then in Kali Yuga, the only thing that counts for people is their tongue, whether they talk or whether they eat. That's the number one thing, my tongue. And therefore he introduces himself through prasadam. So these three things, although we sometimes talk about it, in very, let's say, a light way, but when you look at the concept, it's actually brilliant. And you can see how Krishna is not only brilliant, but his compassionate nature is thinking, how am I going to get those guys because they're really out for lunch? So he designs this, and he says, instead of competing with them, I won't show myself as God.
Come with one of
show
them.
myself as a servant. But Jiva Goswami explains that, so I thought it's interesting.
Very wonderful comment. Thank you very much. Yes, I didn't mention that, but yes, he comes in disguise, and that's one of the main reasons. He defeats everybody. Thank you. That's a very wonderful comment. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for class, Guru. It's Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami. He mentions that he has to be careful not to make the Caitanya Caritamrita too big. So he sort of prioritizes different, So I think it's further on the Madhya Lila that Lord Caitanya, he's walking around India, it takes 6 years. There's one section, it's one chapter, covers 2 years of his travelling. But when he talks about Rath Yatra, so that's about 2 week period, it's 2 chapters to cover that 2 week period. So, it's sort of, in a sense, understand how important that Rath Yatra festival is and how much, Lord Caitanya focuses on that. All these residents of Navadvip, they go down there every year. And I mentioned 20 years in a row. They spend 4 months, which includes the Rath Yatra. And Srila Prabhupada, his first deity that manifested was Jagannath. First festival he had arranged was Rath Yatra, and now Rath Yatra is spread all over the world. So it's interesting how Krishna's Kaviraj focuses on that particular festival so much.
Thank you. Another very good point. But yeah, it's and the Acharyas tell us when Lord Chaitanya was in Navadvip, he was in the mood that the gopis were when Uddhava visited. That sort of, again, you've got to have some context to that, but the senior devotees know what I'm talking about somewhat. And when he was in Jagannath Puri, he was in the mood of the gopis at Kurukshetra, which is that, and if you know the pastimes, they hadn't seen Krishna for 100 years or close to 100 years. And then all the residents of Vrindavan came to Kurukshetra. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Krishna came himself from Dwarka with his entourage in his royal attire, and they met. And so that was very, very intense also. So, and that's, like you're saying, the Rath Yatra festival is exactly that festival. The devotees grabbed those ropes on the cart, and we were trying to bring Krishna back to Vrindavan. We don't want him in Dwarka. Because the gopis were there in Kurukshetra, but the mood was not the same. It's not the same. And I won't get into all the esoteric details, but that's, So Rath Yatra is very, very important because we're enacting that deep separation of the devotees of Vrindavan, meeting with Krishna and bringing him back. And like Prabhupada says in his purport, it's this separation is a very integral part of spiritual life, interestingly enough, meeting and separation. There's still 2 or 3 minutes. Who was the personality we're supposed to remember, discussed at the beginning? Yes, so you want to build up that repertoire in your consciousness of all the associates with Lord Caitanya. And later on, when you get a bit older and you have insomnia, right? This is what I do sometimes. Instead of counting sheep, you count the associates of Lord Caitanya. It's a really nice thing to do. Yeah, because you got to really think this one and that one, and Tapana Mishra and Chandrasekhar and Raman and Roy, and you start travelling through the CC. Unfortunately, it can actually keep you awake as well. So you might have to throw a few sheep in there as well. But anyway, it's very, very important because these devotees are so dear, and Lord Chaitanya takes great pleasure when we glorify him and hear about him. So if you want to please the Lord, to get to know his devotees, love me, love my dog, isn't it? Prabhupada taught us this concept. You got 2 minutes, yep. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. See, I've heard 2 months. I think they do stop in a few places, but anyway, you use Google, did you? Yeah. Yeah. They didn't have Google Map, so they might have gone the long way around. Interesting. But there's also very wonderful places they stop at. And Lord Chaitanya goes back through these places as well. But there's so much to hear and learn. It should be an impetus to read the Bhagavatam, the Gita, so you can get to read these books more and more. And you were talking about eating. I've mentioned this before. We're about to eat now, aren't we? Niranjan Swami was speaking with Shivaram Maharaj. And Shivaram Maharaj, you know those 2 devotees, they're senior devotees in our movement. And Shivaram Maharaj was telling me he just finished reading the Caitanya Caritamrita, I think for the 17th time or something. These devotees relish this. And then Niranjan Swami asked him, says, well, tell me, what are you getting out of it? And his answer was, they do a lot of eating. They do a lot of eating. So like Ajita Prabhu said, Krishna is so intelligent. I mean, that was a brilliant point you made, Ajita. He's so intelligent because he's coming with a heart full of compassion in the mood of Radharani. He wants to distribute this. And like Ajita Prabhu said, he's orchestrated in such a super excellent way to draw everybody in, through the tongue and party. I mean, what a brilliant, intelligent personality. And kind and compassionate. All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very, very much for your attending and your attention. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gauranga Mahaprabhu Nityananda Ram. They're our kind friends and saviours. Hari Bol.